Welcome back, YouTube. I am Shaggy Philolitea. We're going to play some Final Fantasy the First, continuing our... This is going to be real loud for you. Continuing our speed run to the Rat Tail. And then you're going to get real bored. Sorry that you have to see this. I don't have to let you see this, but you get to see behind the scenes today. You get to see how the sausage is made a little bit. We've been talking the last episode before I was so unrudely interrupted in the Panera by those two girls who wanted to sit and gossip with their Sunday, and why shouldn't they? They clearly got tired of me being back there, but they chose to sit where my stuff was. They could have not sat where my stuff was and not felt like I was eavesdropping, but I wasn't eavesdropping. Anyway, I have a fully charged phone, and I'm going to sit out here in the sun and think about time management some more, because I don't think I've said everything I have to say. I think there's meat left on that bone, and I know that I've got, it's what, 2 o'clock? It's almost 3 o'clock. I know I've got 4 hours. What we got here? I didn't go in here last time. We got 4 hours before Panera is going to want to be closing, so that gives me 4 hours plus 1 hour to charge my shit before dark. Well, it'll be after dark by then, but before it's so brutally cold it's miserable to walk back to my spot, and that's whatever. Not worried about that either. Not really worried about much, to be honest with you. Feeling good. And that's, that's thematically kind of where we're at, talking about time management. And I have to manage my time and my battery, and managing your battery on your phone, whether you're homeless or otherwise, and managing other resources like limited food or money is really no different from managing your time. The time is a resource. They say time is money, right? And so time is a resource, and you only have so many hours a day where you can be reliably conscious. And if you're not sleeping it depends on your brain, but the adequate 6 to 8, if you're not getting adequate sleep, you're doing long-term permanent damage to your body. And so a lot of what I end up talking about in these is how to avoid doing long-term permanent damage to your body with things that seem simple. And I think something that I've been working toward saying, and then I've left to subtext, because what adult wants to hear this said to them? I think we make choices around the age of 9, between the ages of 9 and 16, of how we think we're going to be as adults. And so I think we do. I think we watch the people in our families and in our homes, and we say, well, I'm not going to be like that. And I was talking about, before those girls wanted to sit down, I was talking about how we look at our grandparents and we say, well, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to burn the candle at both ends, in both ends, and I'm going to be more productive than old people, and I'm going to have more fun with my time than old people. And we think things like, staying up late 3-4 nights a week, so long as we get up and we're at work and we're not late, and we handle our responsibilities as that goes, that we're not doing damage. But not getting the adequate sleep is doing damage to your brain and to your body. Your body needs that time to recover, even if you're not an athlete, even if you're a great big fat person. Obviously there's no judgment there. You still need the time to recover. Your muscles still need time to recover from just moving your ass from the bed to the couch. Your body needs that. And so what that means is that you can just know that you've only got maximum 16 hours a day. because you know that you're going to give yourself time to adequately sleep. So you know that you've only got so many hours in the day. We're going to say 16. And if you know you've got to work, you know you got to go to your job for 8 hours, then you know you've really only got 8 hours. And then you also know that you have to take into account your commute, right? And so this is why everybody drives like an asshole, and this is why there are so many accidents all over the world. Automobile accidents are so prevalent, is because people are in a hurry to get nowhere because they haven't managed their time properly, right? There's that country song that I reference from time to time, but I'm in a hurry to get things done. I rush and rush until life's no fun. All I really want to do is live and die, but I'm in a hurry. And I don't even know why. And that's a problem. That's a problem. And so maybe I'm me. Maybe I'm unique, but when I looked out at the world and I looked at my parents, what I said is, I'm not going to be late for everything, and I'm also not going to be hustling everywhere to make everybody think that I'm late. I hate that. In fact, I feel so guilty when I do it to people. So I was talking to the librarian the other day, and she wanted to have a conversation because she had a few minutes, but I had to go. It's like, I'm going to miss this bus, and then I'm stranded here, and you're not taking me back to my tent. I'm not even going to ask you. I'm not even going to make that an option for her. But I did. I had to go, and so I know that the conversation was going well, but I had to pull all right, bye, I'll see you later. And then, of course, she wasn't there the next day, so that stuff lingers with me. But I think that's the kind of stuff that keeps me awake at night. But I think that's the kind of stuff, obviously, I think it's the kind of stuff that should keep us awake at night, because it's the stuff I think about. But see, beyond it being the stuff I think about it because it's soluble. And by soluble, I mean it's solvable, right? You can fix that, right? Instead of leaving at the exact moment that I need to be leaving the library, instead of sitting here with this. I was actually doing either Final Fantasy, or I was doing a John reading for the main page, and I gave myself exactly 2 minutes to get out there, let them know that I had left, and then get the fuck to the bus. And I sat and talked to her for 5 minutes, and so it's like, I'm gonna miss this fucking bus. And I don't think that's bad time management, but I think about it because it's bad people management in a way. It's bad respecting her, in my opinion. I didn't treat her with the kind of human respect that I would like, but I'm a lingering, take your time kind of person. And so I guess that gets us to a sense of urgency. It gets us to a sense of urgency in kind of a way that I wasn't prepared to talk about sense of urgency. But I'm thinking of a conversation I had with a good friend who was telling me, and I agreed with him, that what he notices about the world that we live in right now is that there's just no sense of urgency to make it better. That the things we're urgent about don't matter. Like, is the world going to end if you're 10 minutes late to work because you mismanaged your time? No. But if you kill somebody on the way, theirs did. And yours may, as a result. Depends on where you live. Not every state has vehicular manslaughter laws. I don't think, like, New York City doesn't have vehicular manslaughter laws. You get hit and killed by a car in New York, that is entirely your fault, as far as they're concerned. Obviously, there are extenuating circumstances where as a blanket statement, that's a very cruel and hard thing to back up. But that's how the city feels about it. I hope I went down and not up. I can't remember. don't remember where I am in this dungeon, but I know I have to go back down here. There's another boss I gotta kill. I could have just done it while I was there, but I gave you a little bit of the narrative of the game. This game doesn't have much story. There's really not much narrative to find in this game, but I gave you a taste of it. While I was muted last time. If you're watching me to learn how to play this game, you're doing it wrong. There are other people that have already done that better. And frankly, if you're playing the remasters of these games and you can't figure them out, you're just living life wrong. They made them so easy. Compared to what they used to be, they're very, very easy now. Damn it. It's down there, right? So one of the things I've thought about doing is when I have those long silences, and I know they're long silences, what I wish I could do is just fast forward that for you, play that at 2 or 8 times speed, but my video editing software that I have access to isn't that sophisticated. It won't let me do that. I would have to stop recording, open a new file, and fast forward that new file, open a new file when I was ready to, it's too much work. I'd have to notice that I'm being quiet in order to fix it for you. And I know that's a bummer. I know you guys are so impatient. You got so many places to be and so much that you need to be doing with your audio time. I know. It's so hard to be you. I ask for so much. That's funny because I observe my behavior and would I watch these? Yeah. If you were making these, I would watch them. I would be your biggest fan. Especially if you were talking to me the way that I talk to you. You would be my biggest fan. I would be your biggest fan. And, I know that's true because for the longest time, and this is a shout out and an advertisement, go watch his stuff on Twitch. Magic Shadow, my good friend Magic Shadow, part of the reason that I'm recording myself playing Hearthstone is because I sit and I watch him play Hearthstone for minimum an hour a day, whether I'm on the phone with him so that he has a 2-person production, or whether I sit and I watch him because I can't be on the phone because I'm back at my tent earlier than I meant to be. I watch his work, and his work right now is still very much audience building, and he's still very much just playing and reacting to the game. But sometimes he does what I do, and he'll start to moralize about the way people behave in public, and he'll start to reach deep for big ideas, and I know he's going to do more of that in the future, and I am his biggest fan. I made him 83 cents this month, and I feel fucking awesome about that. And ad revenue, and I've talked about it elsewhere. I probably talked about it in this very series. And so, what I'm telling you is that I feel a patience that I never felt with my earlier work. Because what I was doing before I did really the Logic commentary video that I made. Logic, you said what? On the main channel on Shaggy Phil Alitea while I was still talking to myself. That was actually still talking to myself. I don't think that was even as the Shaggy Dog Philosopher yet, and it was most certainly not before I had evolved into my Phil Alitea form, but that's fine. The point is that before then, I was just kind of doing what I thought other people would like. And then I did that Logic video, and since then, I've just been doing what I would like. Because my heroes are all musicians, and they all make the music that they weren't hearing and wanted to be hearing. So I'm going to do the sort of YouTube that I wish still existed and wasn't tainted by evil people, by influencers specifically. Man, my heel is healing so well. I had just the most gnarly blister. And that's about time management too. See, you gotta manage time for hygiene, to brush your teeth. That's hard for me, the brushing my teeth. Like, I should do it now that I'm talking about it, but I don't have, the water that I have is adequate. I'm just not managing my time well, because why am I really gonna yes, okay, fine, I'll demonstrate. Okay, so that is a demonstration of what I was talking about when I was talking about the difference in reason and rationalization. That sometimes we have a reason why we fail and why we aren't able to accomplish our goals and why we aren't able to do the things that we want to do. And sometimes we rationalize it to get away with it. And you could say, well, rationalization is an excuse, and you wouldn't be wrong in that regard. And so anyway, I'm making this for me, but like I say, like I always end up saying, where there's one, there's two, and where there's two, there's three, and where there's three, there's a community. You've got a complex system. You can start to bank on complexity and growth, whether that growth is permanent or whatever. Yeah, I know. Am I doing something wrong? I'm gonna tell you what. If I fucked up, and then I have to go and look at a walkthrough, all that, if you need a walkthrough to play this game, you're doing it wrong. I don't remember how to make that. I thought that... I thought you went right back down in there. I thought you could do them back to back, but I must have to go over to the Giants thing next. Oh well. Too bad I don't have black magic, or I could just warp back to the beginning of the dungeon. I don't think I have any warp stones yet. I don't even think this game has warp stones. I think they invent or innovate that for Final Fantasy II. Damn, I really want you guys to take less damage. Well, that hurts the speed run. Am I going? I could be a bitch and turn the encounters off. Yikes. And so, rebrushing my teeth, right? So I just brushed my teeth. Like I was coming up with all these reasons why I don't and why I shouldn't do it now, and that's what I'm talking about. I gave myself, it's paying attention to what you're saying, right? Paying attention to what you're saying and paying attention to what you're thinking, like you're someone else, like you're a stranger to yourself. And so I realized that I was making a bunch of excuses because of effectively childhood trauma. I don't know if it is trauma, but I have this intense aversion to being watched. do certain things, and they're not always they're consistently the same things, but they're not always things that people watch or care about. And for whatever reason, I feel like people are fixated on my teeth, and so I just became really weird about it. And one of the things I did was I found alternative methods historically that people use to keep their teeth clean. And my teeth were fine, actually, until just after my 30th birthday. Well, you know, you make changes for the women that you love if you're a man, and she wanted me brushing my teeth, so whatever, I started brushing my teeth regularly, 2 times a day, and then my teeth started to fall apart from relying only on that and removing the other what should have been supplemental methods of keeping my teeth clean. Then my teeth started breaking, and the enamel turned out to be, you know, weakened, of course, but the vigor of the brush and then the overconfidence that brushing was doing something to restore the enamel that was weakened. And then you convince yourself, you know, that, oh, well, just don't do any of it because you've forgotten all of the other things, like chewing gum. You know, I used to chew a lot of gum. Now I don't. I never chew gum anymore. And it's problematic for my dental and my oral hygiene. So whatever. This is less about confessing that I'm not good at keeping my teeth clean. That's pretty obvious if you look at me. This is about demonstrating what it looks like to view yourself as a stranger in that way, to really listen to yourself and hear whether you're rationalizing or whether you do have good reasons. And what I realized, sitting here explaining to you my reasons, is that they were terrible. They were bad. And so because my reasons were bad, that means that my behavior didn't make sense, and that means I was being stupid. And so if I have this pathological terror that you have of being stupid, I just showed you how to get around it. When you find yourself doing something self-detrimental, stop. And then, so like, in other words, when you find yourself wasting time, stop. That's why no matter how many times I say that what I want to do is I want to get ahead of these and only post 1 video a day, and then I want to have a backlog, what keeps happening is I do that. I rationalize that would be a really good way to be consistent and to schedule and to not get so far ahead of the future audience and material produced that they feel like they can't keep up. But if I'm making this for me, I have to be honest about my behaviors, and I prefer the binge of material like what I'm making, because then I can watch it as many times as I feel like, without feeling like I have to go back to the beginning. And so let me describe some of my behavior for you. If you're the kind of person who is like me, I'm making this for you, with you in mind. The only things I watch for entertainment are Rich Eisen and Neebs. I'll sometimes tune in to the Pat McAfee show, but I've said so many places, and they're just not recorded and available to you end user of this Shaggy Phil Alitea Presents Talking to the Future, the podcast. I should probably just call it Talking to the Future Gaming outright, but whatever. The point is, I've forgotten what the point is. No. The point is I wanted to get ahead of this, but I have limited hard drive space. And so if I'm not paying for, like, Google to hold my stuff, they're super pushy right now about not even letting me use my email. And so, yeah, I could make backups and I could send all this to Google Drive, but that's effectively the same, because if I just upload it to YouTube from my phone, I can re-download it to my phone, and it's not like I have a raw audio and a raw video file anymore that I could manipulate one or the other to better suit my/our end user needs. So there's a lot in those regards holding me back, so to speak, from doing that. And so what that means is that I just have to get over feeling like I'm so far ahead of you. And that comes from the same place as the teeth brushing. It comes from school. I was bullied and ostracized for being so far ahead of everyone all the way through school. And so there's just a certain amount of... I've held myself back creatively and experientially so I didn't out-level you guys. And that's kind of like meta-textually, that's sort of what this is about, is making sure, because the way I like to play these games is the way I like to live. I like to get ahead of the game so that, here we go, Earth Rod, and then you go fuck that guy up. That makes sense. I forgot this stage. Forgot this part. It only makes sense that you should go through this. The way everything else has worked in this game, it only makes sense. You know, it doesn't make sense that I don't have sprint on. It doesn't make sense I haven't been playing with this the whole time. It only makes sense. What if... Is this easier, you think? No, because it's harder to open chests that way. I remember that. That's why I don't use it. Now I don't remember anything of what I'm talking about. And that's okay. It's just how life goes. It's how my brain works. It's how conversation goes. And I would want me to be way out ahead of me. Because what I do is when I watch Rich or Pat, I watch once and I never watch a second time. In fact, I get annoyed when there's not new material. And that's a me thing. The same with when I used to listen to podcasts like Astonishing Legends. I wasn't tuning in a second time. I pay intense attention to audio material, especially when it's in the not the radio format, but the podcast format, the raw audio that's edited ad nauseum, the scripted, all of that. That I listened to once. I don't feel like I need to listen to it again because I pay attention. And now that's not always true. So like audiobooks, I'll allow myself while and of course I'm playing a video game. I'm playing something grindy like this or The Tower or don't tell Nintendo or Sony, but I've recently downloaded emulators and I'm playing old ROMs of games that are just not available. Not available in remasters and not available to be played anymore. Not for me. And so I've been playing Final Fantasy Mystic Quest with my downtime lately. For the exact reason that I told you I play specifically this game. I like grindy RPGs. And then Mystic Quest is set up in such a way that you don't get punished for playing the way I like to play, which is to get way out ahead of the game, so that whenever you transition to the new dungeon, you're not slamming your face against a wall. I've never liked that, so that ramps up and difficulty don't catch you by surprise. And I already feel like I'm higher level than I really wanted to be at this stage of the game. So, I mean, it's possible that I could probably do another run and be even lower level. And maybe I become one of those people that draws enough attention to this that I just start speed running it in earnest and seeing just how low level I can be and beat the game. But my goal with this is actually to grind as close to 99 as possible until I get bored, which means probably 75 or 80. But the goal really is to get the to the rat tail for your amusement. And so I'm trying to get that done in as few videos as possible, but as quickly as possible. And then I'll call that series actually a finale. I'll call it over, and then I'll keep doing this. I'll keep recording these, but they might be different than how I'm doing them now, because it's just going to be walking around in circles, and I don't know how visually stimulating that is going to be when it's not especially goal-oriented. Or I'm going to be dragging out the dungeons in a big way so that basically I'm walking into boss... What am I doing? So I do this every time. Basically I walk into the boss fight and just one-shot it. But those are my goals. Whether I accomplish those or not, we'll see. And then I've said this to begin with, that I might turn around and make a different party too. It all depends on how many views these get, if it's worth it to me in the short term to do that, because I was playing Wild Arms today, and this is about, I'm discussing with you my time management, because I can read books like this. I could play all of these games, and I could set it up where I play Final Fantasy on Monday, and I play Final Fantasy II on Tuesday, and I play Final Fantasy III on Wednesday, and I play Final Fantasy Mystic Quest on Thursday, and I play Final Fantasy Tactics on Friday. And I would be fine with that, because A, I know the games well enough, and B, there is a game that I actually know I would be entertaining to watch play. For the most part, these games aren't going to much get under my skin. I'm not going to do a lot of the haha, take that, or how do you like them beans, right? I'm not going to do a lot of that kind of emoting while I play. And in fact, you're not going to see me get up or down much emotionally while I play this, or really while I play Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy doesn't generate those for me. Not much. The 3D ones, maybe. 9, maybe. They don't have much narrative, and obviously your characters only have, in this game, they only have the character that you give them. They only have the personality that you give them. And then 2 tries to fix that. 3 doesn't do a very good job. Final Fantasy doesn't get good for that until 5, and I do want to play 5 with you, because 4, I kind of want to do commentaries or critiques on them, because there's a reason the Final Fantasies that didn't make it to the United States didn't make it to the United States, and it's that they're not very good. People talk about 4 as like a masterpiece because it came to the United States as 2 and was brutal, unbelievably difficult. So difficult they actually released an easy. The version they released in the United States as 2 is actually the easy version. They nerfed the fuck out of that game for the American audience. And that's not my point. Whether 2 and 4 and 3 were nerfed or whatever. When they came to, when they got their translations and came to English, there's not nostalgia, there's a certain beauty to those old games being kind of not very good, that I'd like to talk about, because this game is fine. I wouldn't say that this game is kind of not very good at all. I would say that the original Final Fantasy is an excellent game. It's excellent for exactly what it is, and for exactly its time and place and what it was trying to do. And in fact, I still find playing it rewarding to this day. Playing and really beating it. You gotta beat it to feel rewarded by Final Fantasy the first. And really, you gotta beat them all. All JRPGs are the kinds of game that you have to beat to feel satisfied with, and that's not, for me, that's not the case with every video game. Sometimes I'm just, alright, I'm done with that. But a game that I know I'll be entertaining with, actually 2 games I know I'll be entertaining with, and a third one I know that I could be entertaining with, are in this order: Wild Arms the first. I haven't played 2 or 3. Wild Arms the first, and Breath of Fire 3. Breath of Fire 3 is a game that I have wanted to play my whole life, but I always get it. I'll download it. I had it for a while. The crazy thing, and I'll tell this story when I have it, but I owned it for a while. I bought it on a lark. My family became homeless, and for whatever reason, my dad's cope was to take me and my brother and buy us each a video game. And my brother bought Final Fantasy Tactics like a fucking asshole. And so I got Breath of Fire 3 because all I could tell was that it was the third in the series and it was clearly a JRPG. And it's awesome, but it's also really slow and narrative heavy. And slow narrative heavy games in general, but especially JRPGs, always bore me. And for whatever reason, my dad thought it would be a good idea to get us PlayStation games, but no memory card. So, and then I don't know what happened to it. We became unhomeless after that, and I just don't know what happened to the disc. It's very strange. What probably happened is what always happened is my mom hid it or threw it in the fucking trash because she would go through these fits of pique where she would just throw my shit away. You've heard me discuss my parents and their weird and arbitrary and always entirely unfair excuse for discipline before. Whether I've done it here or not, I talk about it too much. No, I don't, because I'm talking to a future audience that may have children, and one of the things that I oriented my life toward in my previous incarnations was helping parents not be my parents, making sure that no one else was raised like I was raised. Ah, man. Don't kill that. You bitch. All good. So I've probably triggered myself just enough that I don't remember how to segue out of or back into what I was talking about, but Breath of Fire 3 would be fun to play. It's slow, but I've heard so much about how great the character development and the character progression is, and that's what I like. See, I like a game that has a really, really deep character progression. That's why D&D has no real draw for me, is your character progression isn't very deep and it's not very involved. You don't really get to do much. You get static rewards at level, but I don't know, I've never been impressed with standard, just straight up D&D's character progression. It's kind of boring. That's why video games really, since basically this one, have been trying to build on the current era of D&D. Trying to get something to drink and put this down so I'm not using two hands at all times. But this is, yeah, there we go. And I've heard great things about Breath of Fire 3's character progression. It's supposed to be super awesome and just a lot of fun to play. I obviously have not gotten that deep into it. Whenever I download it on emulators, which is how I started talking about this in the first place, that I've downloaded it on emulators before, my idiot ex even bought me a copy for her damn PSP or whatever, and I kept telling her I'm never going to play it on a handheld. I find handhelds uncomfortable, and that's still true. I got acquainted with the Switch in handheld mode, but it's heavy. I don't know if you've ever it's heavy to actually play in handheld mode for a long time. Like, and then the screen on the PSP was too small. Hers, I found it just entirely too small, and then it hurt my eyes to look at. But moreover, holding the damn thing, I have I don't have big hands, but I also don't have small hands, and so I don't have a woman's hands, and I most certainly don't have a child's hands. So holding that damn Nintendo, holding the Game Boys or the PSP in my hands was just annoying. I don't like doing it, and I don't always like. My phone is massive as phones go, and if it were any smaller, I wouldn't like gaming on it. And the thing about playing these old games on these old NES or whatever, it would be PlayStation 1 for Wild Arms and Breath of Fire 3. But playing these old games on the emulator on the computer when you don't have a gamepad, like you don't have a controller, is annoying. Well, it was to me. It was annoying enough to drive me away from the whole experience, and so I've just never finished. I'm talking about Breath of Fire 3 and how I've never finished Breath of Fire 3, but I've never finished Wild Arms either, for the same reason. I don't know what happened to that damn disc. It has to have been that my mother threw it away, because during that homelessness period, we were living at a hotel. I spent like a week or two at a friend's house over the summer, and over that summer while we were homeless, and what he and I did, and it drove his mom crazy. I'm absolutely certain that that's why. She told me, she's like, I think you've outworn your welcome. And I think it was because he and I just tried so hard to finish that game in one summer, and really in a number of days, and it's just so long. And the thing about this is Wild Arms now that I'm talking about. The thing about Wild Arms is that it's in the style of JRPG where you can fucking dead end yourself. I think I started talking about this. It opens up into something like open world, maybe even entirely open world by almost by modern standards, but definitely by the standard at the time. It opens up to something like what we would recognize as an open world very early, and you can absolutely get yourself trapped away from your vehicle on the world map. So these games, I don't know how well you know, I can't know how well you know, but these games they all do the old school video game thing where, yeah, sure, it's an open world, you can get wherever you want, but you can't cross that river without a canoe, right? And so they have vehicles for traversing the world map, and that's how they lock things by level. That's how they keep you out of places they don't want you being. And that one, Wild Arms, some of the places that you can, some of the dungeons you can do will spit you out away from your vehicle if you do them too early. Or, I don't know. All I know is that every time I've played that game, I get myself dead-ended by going to the wrong dungeon when I get my vehicle and I'm able to go open world. And I'm not going to say anything more than that, not what kind of vehicle it is or anything, for spoiler reasons, because that game, Wild Arms, man, it's cool. It has so many style points that JRPGs forget to have, and like I've told you, I like the combat is really cinematic and fun to look at, and so I'll talk a lot of shit while I play that game, because that game's also really hard. And kind of what I'm talking about is it's not that I want to monetize my free time. It's that, like, when I'm sitting around, like this morning, I just wanted to play Wild Arms. It's like, fuck it, I'm going to play Wild Arms for a little while. And then I played it's not a tutorial. They don't give you any tutorials, basically. But I played the opening sequence, and the opening sequence is so cool, I'm not going to spoil it either. I played the opening sequence, and I'm just like, man, this game is so cool, and I'm talking shit to it, and I'm having a good time, and I'm just like, this is what people want. So maybe I'll just pick a day. Maybe it'll be like Wild Arms Friday, and I'll just play Wild Arms, and for as long as I can, and then upload that video on Saturday when I go to the mall or something. Who knows? Maybe I'll do something like that. I know that I have no subs and on this channel, and I know that it's going to take some time for people to understand what I'm doing and give me those comments. But I absolutely want your comments. What do you want to see me play? What can I play on my phone that's going to not be an absolute battery hog that you want to see? Especially if it's something that's real good about, like, freeing up your hands. Not your hands, but freeing up. I don't want to read. I don't like reading, so I don't want to make a whole bunch of choices. I like to have my mind like this. I like to be able to just kind of automatically let my eyes and my hands do without having to think English words in my mind, inside my brain, to give myself commands how to play. But if I do play a game like that, I'll just have to get better about doing them all out loud, which means Final Fantasy Tactics is definitely on the table, because Tactics is a game that requires a lot of strategy and a lot of talking out what you're doing. Kind of like what I'm doing with Hearthstone, but Hearthstone is something I'm not very good at. Final Fantasy Tactics I am very good at, and so if bad things happen to me in Final Fantasy Tactics, it would actually be from the perspective of the audience, of a person who likes to watch people who are both very good and very bad at video games game. Seeing bad things happen to somebody who's confident about his skill in a video game is always funny. So Final Fantasy Tactics might even be a better game. The only thing is I'm not sure the phone, the Android operating system is comfortable. And also, what I'm telling you is that on my downtime, I feel like my downtime is stuff that I could screen grab, and that it would be silly not to be screen grabbing everything, but that not everything I want to play is going to be so much this, where I'm trying to solve big problems or teach you big things. Sometimes I just want to show you a cool game and then just actually play it. And then that just means I have to, if I'm going to do that, actually play, I have to be both entertaining, and I have to keep my eye toward the future and remind myself to be critiquing and commenting on everything that I see from a historical standpoint. Like, oh, this is the way it is because of blank, for instance, like I've been doing. But yeah, it just, I was sitting there in my tent this morning. That's not even true. It's actually not true. I was sitting in my tent last night as the sun was still up in the sky, having left the mall earlier than I said I was going to, because I just didn't feel like being there anymore. I really just felt like I wasn't doing anything. And I got self-conscious about the audio, and so I wasn't recording. I wasn't even recording Let's Plays. And so once my last upload went up and my battery was full, I just went ahead back to the tent. And so sitting back at my tent, I was thinking about, man, you really need to be productive, and it's cold, and so one of the things I'm not trying to do is draw a bunch of attention to the fact that I'm down there by talking. Even if I don't even know if I'm audible, to be frank. I don't know if I might even have to yell in order for the sound to bounce up out of my tent and up over that barrier wall and into humanity. But the last time I thought that I was safe from that specific thing, I decidedly was not safe from that specific thing. But the point remains that I was lying there thinking, I wanted to do something other than just watch the orbs in my game, the tower, spin while I watched the numbers go up, because I wasn't listening to the Bible because it was Saturday, and I felt like I should probably give myself an intellectual day off from learning new things, because what happens is on Saturday and Sunday I'll learn new things and then they get in the way of what I had planned. That's what happened this whole week. I have a whole list of subjects, and this talking about time management was the first one that I wrote down. I have a whole list of subjects that I could do 5 or 6 hours on, and then I'm adding new information to my brain that is more relevant to me because I already have things to say about these topics that I wrote down, and I want to learn these topics that I'm learning, and the way that I learn is the way I keep teaching you is the most efficient. Neurologically, it's the most efficient, and that's to test what I know by talking about it, and then seeing what I leave out, like what I forget to mention, that sort of thing. When I get questions like, okay, well, what about this? Oh shit, yeah, okay, I didn't know it as well as I thought, that sort of thing. And that's what the Philolitea channel is about. And if I'm gonna do that and game, then it becomes talking to the future, and so maybe what I need is like a testing myself. Shaggy Philolitea presents testing his knowledge. But you see that I'm going to seem like what I'm doing is farming ad revenue by having all these different channels, and then if I just relegate it all to one channel and put it in playlists, then I'm running risk of too much content, more content than anybody can manageably keep up with me, and I like that. But it does put me in sort of like a mini a true nerd position where I have to decide which games I'm actually going to finish, and that comes down to some that might be entirely out of my control if it comes down to views, and so views is not what I'm attaching it to right now, because that is definitely going to weigh on my feelings and on my motivation to play these games moving forward. Because if I'm only playing these games to get views and I'm not getting views, then I'm going to feel like anything that I've said as far as a topic is concerned that gets brought up or needs further evaluation in later videos, because, well, it turns out that they're watching this one, but they're not watching that one. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to get frustrated. I know I'm going to get frustrated with repeating myself. And so the way that we can avoid that, you and me, future audience and me, can avoid that, is by not setting myself up in that position to begin with. So I'm not going to make another channel for that sort of talk. It's just these channels are going to be confused until I start getting comments like, all right, that doesn't feel like it fits this thematically, and then I can go, great, the rest of that series will be wherever. You see what I'm saying? I probably do not have the necessary spell points to win this. But here we go. These videos are supposed to be building toward boss fights, and for the most part now they will be. Now that the game is opening up to be the game that it actually is, that will start to happen more frequently. The Lich Fiend! And then I can actually title these Lich Fiend Boss Fight and whatever I end up talking about. No, shit, it won't let me target the boss with life. That's funny. I messed up. Oh, I'm probably gonna have to do this fight a couple of times, especially if he's not always fire. But if he is always fire, I should be good. Now what I can do. Well, I had a feeling he was going to attack him, and I didn't get the spell off in time. Now you attack first in the turn. Great job, Darrow. Okay, him casting haste on himself is a problem for me. We really aren't doing much damage to him, are we? I didn't see how much Diaga did. I don't even know that this thing is undead. Man, we're really not doing much damage at all. That's a lot of damage. Come on, you son of a bitch. Yes! Okay, so sometimes I do get emotionally up. That felt good. That was rewarding. This build, I'm glad I built this way. I wanted to have one that was real good at eliminating undead, because it's hard to justify that spell, Dia. I don't think that red mages can use that spell. And it's difficult to justify carrying those spells, the Dia 1, Dia 2, Dia 3. It's difficult to justify carrying them for me. I prefer the other spells around them. So this is why I wanted this build, because I'm feeling so proud of myself. I never get to play this way and experience it the way other people talk about how much fun it is to experience. And so there you go, y'all. That was the Lich Fiend run. Thank you for being here. I've been Shaggy Phil Elitea. I'm going to start right back up from here and just keep moving along in the game. Thank you for being here. Keep watching. Eventually I should have good playlists up for these, and that's kind of what I've been building toward talking about, is that I just have to start having really good playlists so that it makes sense to watch my stuff in order, and it'll be easy on you. Alright, well anyway, thank you for being here. I've been Shaggy Phil Elitea. You've been listening to me talk to the future about time management, basically. That's everything that we've talked about these last two episodes. This episode and the previous and the next has been through the lens of time management. Alright, until next time. Keep your eyes open. Hands up, palms out, head on a swivel. Do better today than you did yesterday, and tomorrow than you will today. And everything is going to work out all right for you. I believe in you, kids. Take care.